Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is the 56th part of What If Deku Was Sanji's Reincarnation, My Heroes Reborn. The author of this great fanfic is Emily. Links to them and original story in the description. Chapter 56, The Return of the Pirate Hunter. In the classroom everyone was nervous about any news about Bakugo. Fuck. 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 Fuyoriuya kyakke. Yelled Aiko suddenly. What happened? Asked Toru. Okay, good news. Bakugo hasn't been kidnapped. Said Aiko, but it's not just bad news, but horrible news. You better not be exaggerating things. Yelled Ida. Priestess got him with her quirk. Said Aiko. Everyone in the classroom but Monoma were horrified. No. Whispered Kirishima. The five of us were lucky. Muttered Mashireo. Yeah. Whispered Toru. We have no idea who or what he was. Said Aiko, our only hope is that he was a fighter in his past life. She didn't want to admit to the cancer survivor metric at the moment. It was a good metric to see if someone would remain a hero. But it also sounded pretty insensitive at the moment. What are you even talking about? Demanded Monoma. Back at the location, Priestess was screaming for several seconds. Ever since she was doing this, she had kept a mental list of those she never wanted to awaken. She knew the odds were slim that she would ever awaken them. But she was still scared that she would. People such as Steve Rogers, Ranma Satomu and Rock Lee were all people she was terrified of awakening. Heck, with her recent awakening of Ruji's past life memories, the list gained a huge boost thanks to the existence of Power Rangers. There were over 100 of them. Currently there was one person that was on top of the list. And she just reawakened his memories. It's just like the USJ. Said Shoji. Out of the 5 students that had seen her breakdown, Shoji was the only one that wasn't in the classroom. When Priestess finally stopped screaming, she suddenly tackled Izuku. Tell me. She yelled. What? Said Izuku, knowing she was having another breakdown. I know he bullied you since childhood. That you've known each other for years. So tell me. How were you drawn together? She demanded. However, before anyone could get her off him, still unsure if Izuku's inability to hit women was still in effect as it still had yet to be tested, Bakugo finally got up. No, the 30 seconds are up. Whimpered Priestess. Bakugo grasped as if trying to get something on his side, only grabbing air. He then glared at Priestess. She got off of Izuku and began to run away. However, it wasn't enough. Suddenly a wind blew from Bakugo, knocking her down. What was that? Asked Tokoyami. That was when they all noticed that his hands were completely black. Which they all immediately recognized. Midoriya, isn't that one of your techniques? Asked Tokoyami. Haki. Said Izuku. That was when the villain they were fighting earlier broke through the ice wall that Todoroki had created. Bakugo turned his attention on him. After all, right now he was just running on instincts from his past life with the goal of protecting his friends, loose term right now, and defeating his enemies. They watched Bakugo fought in a weird way, as if chopping the air. Izuku watched in shock. He knew those movements. Midoriya, did you know him? Asked Todoroki. Before Izuku could answer. Izuku! Called out Momo. The other two arrived as well, with Aoyama looked at Priestess and the way Bakugo was acting. After all, he was one of the few students, along with Tokoyami, who hadn't seen what the feral stage looked like. While Awaze was just confused. Momo. I need you make something for me. Said Izuku. What? Asked Momo. 3 katanas. Said Izuku. Momo was confused for a second, but then remembered something from when she saw his memories in the dreams. All right. She said. Meanwhile, Bakugo continued to fight the villain as he turned his teeth into blades. After about a minute, Izuku yelled out, "Hey! Shitty swordsman!" Everyone watched in confusion after Momo finished making the katanas. She placed the 3 swords on the ground and Izuku kicked the blades to Bakugo. Bakugo saw the swords hurtling him and caught all 3 of them, with the third in his mouth, shocking everyone including Momo, as she didn't know how he used the third sword. "I knew it," said Izuku. "You knew each other," said Shoji. "Remember the monster trio I mentioned?" said Izuku. The entire class sans Momo remembered that, along with Shoji remembering Priestess Rant. "We were the 3 strongest on the crew," said Izuku. "There was me, our Captain Luffy, and finally the swordsman Roronoa Zoro." The class was surprised by this fact. "Wait, is that?" said Aiko. "Moss head," said Izuku, confirming those that knew about his past life. "Ha!" said Todoroki, who had heard about the rather humorous arguments a couple times. "I have no idea what's going on," said Owaze. The villain was defeated and Bakugo turned to Priestess, who was shaking. No, he's not like Blackleg, he believes that there is no difference when it comes to fighting women," she whimpered. He was about to attack her, however a figure in a top hat wearing a mask and trench coat managed to grab her. "I take it your part of the plan failed," said the person who was clearly with the villain. "No, he's a pansy who hiding," muttered Priestess very sarcastically. "Of course it failed. He's top tired from the same world as Blackleg. And what's worse, he's from the same pirate crew." The villain looked at her. "Why did I have to unleash another monster?" she muttered. "I have unleashed another monster. I have unleashed another monster. It's not that." The villain tried to reassure her. That was when Bakugo created a tornado with his swords. With the students, they saw what he had just done. "Amazing," said Momo in awe. "Are you sure that was a good idea, giving him swords?" asked Shoji. "Maybe," said Izuku, starting to sound unsure. However, Izuku saw that villain who came to Priestess' aid. "What is it, Midoriya?" asked Aoyama. "I'll explain it later," said Izuku. He ran towards the villain and kicked him in the chest. The villain's mask fell off and he coughed up a small marble. Izuku picked up the marble. "Release her," he said, glaring at him. "Listen to him," said Priestess. The glared at Izuku and snapped his fingers, and suddenly there was a flash of light and a very injured ragdoll appeared in his arms. That was when Bakugo attacked them. He glared at Izuku that said, "Don't get in my way." Izuku laughed nervously at that face. "Ragdoll?" asked Tokoyami. "They also kidnapped her," said Izuku. "Shoji decided to take her." "You need to send out a message," yelled the villain. "Damn it! You're right," yelled Priestess. She placed her ear. "I made a gross miscalculation. He was extremely strong in his past life, everything he gained was because of skill. We need to retreat and..." That was when Bakugo tried to swipe at them. "We should be lucky he's out of it. I really don't want to fright him while he's using Ashura," said Priestess, shaking. "What?" asked the villain. "Now's not the time to ask question, Mr. Compress, we need to flee," she said. Mr. Compress looked at the feral hero in training trying to attack him with the sword. It was clear that he wouldn't be able to use his quirk on him. Both of them fled as fast as they could, hoping that the trees would hide them. Bakugo gritted his teeth anger as the villains were successful in hiding. It should be pointed out that while in his past life he did have observation haki, it was near Sanji's abilities. The other students arrived and looked at him. "Aiko, what happens when there aren't any enemies to fight?" asked Izuku. "They just do something that their past life would do until they pass out," said Aiko. Bakugo was glaring at Izuku. And suddenly he attacked Izuku. Tokoyami was about to defend Izuku, however Momo stopped him. Wait, said Momo, look at his body language. They all looked at Bakugo body language as Izuku fought them off. It wasn't like fighting with the villains. It was more like someone fighting because they were annoyed more than anything. Or as Tokoyami put it, it's like they're children, said Tokoyami. Momo, I think I might need your help with this, yelled Izuku. Momo sighed and knew what she had to do. She walked towards them and punched both of them in the heads. That really hurt, said Izuku. Sorry, said Momo. The others just watched as Bakugo glared at Momo, who gave an Urza glare right back at him. He then grumbled and went take a nap under a tree. Was that seriously normal for him? Asked Shoji with a sweat drop. Yeah, said Izuku. Give him a few minutes then try to move him, said Aiko. Have you told everyone else? Asked Momo. Mostly, said Aiko. I told everyone I could, which unfortunately means not Hibiki. I'm not supposed to interrupt him whole, he's doing science. What about Achiko, Toru, and Mashireo? Asked Izuku. Not to mention the teachers, said Momo. Don't worry, I told them, said Aiko, though unlike the others Achiko's having a harder time fighting, so I didn't tell her everything. Several minutes ago with Achiko and Tsuyu. Both of HTM were walking through the forest when they had to dodge a knife. It was Toga trying to stab them. Achiko and Tsuyu managed to get out of the way. Oh man, you were able to dodge, how am I supposed to get that yummy blood now? Said Toga. Reminder, Aizawa gave you the okay to fight back. Said Aiko, though I think you two need to be careful, she has a ton of knives so I wouldn't use your tongue if I were you. Achiko. Said Tsuyu. I'm not exactly the strongest, the five of us. Sighed Achiko, but I do have some trick up my sleeve. Tsuyu nodding, knowing that Achiko should be the one to handle this fight. It was mostly Achiko dodging the knife and looking for an opening. You know. I see it in your eyes. Laughed Toga, you're in love, aren't you? What? Asked Achiko. Before Toga could continue with her rant, a certain moment had occurred. Bad news, said Aiko suddenly. What? Said Achiko. Bakugo just got hit by Priestess Quirk, said Aiko. Achiko froze. What? She asked. She knew that she got lucky with her past life that was relatively unscathed. But she wouldn't anyone she knew to be hit. Even if things were complicated between Izuku and Bakugo, he was still a classmate and ally. And to get hit by the quirk, with such a high chance of quitting. However, Toga used this chance to jab Achiko with a large needle. Oh my bad, said Aiko, I'll shut up for the rest of the fight. The need was attached to a device that started to drain her blood. However, Achiko managed to jab her with her hands. What's happening? She yelled as she stared to float. Achiko careful removed the needle, but it was clear that it did do its job and drained quite a bit of blood. But she was fine. Release, said Achiko. That was when they saw strange gusts of wind. What's that? Asked Tsuyu. I will say it's good news, but I'll go into details later, said Aiko. Achiko got the feeling that Bakugo was a fighter and going to remain on their side. Toga got up and looked at Tsuyu. So I guess I need to take your blood now, said Toga. I won't let you, said Achiko. She knew she had to be careful. Though one stray thought did occur to her. I need to start carrying kunai. And the fight continued for a bit longer. Back in the classroom. All right, called out Aiko, I have good news and bad news. What is it? Said Kirishima. The good news, Bakugo was a fighter in his past life and is not fighting indiscriminately, said Aiko. All right, said Toru. Wait, what's the bad news? Asked Kirishima. Well, you know that phase. Oh no, now there's two of them, asked Aiko. What about it? Asked Jiro. Oh sweet merciful crap. Now there's two of them, yelled Aiko. What does that mean? Asked Kirishima. Okay. Izuku and Bakugo knew each other in their past lives. In fact, they were on the same pirate crew, said Aiko. Everyone was surprised, however it was clear it was good news. Why would that elicit that reaction? It sounds like good news. I mean, even they were pirates. From what I heard about Izuku's past life, they were good people, said Ida. Unless, no, said Mashireo. Yep. Moss head, said Aiko. What? Asked Mina. The guy from Izuku's past life that didn't have a sense of direction, sighed Mashireo. The class had managed to figure out context clues that Izuku knew someone from his past life that also had no sense of direction. So now we have two uber power pirates and two guys without a sense of direction, said Mina. Well, three for the last one, said Aiko. That was one time, sighed Kirishima. Seriously, all this talk about past lives, it's pathetic, said Monoma. That was when Toru and Mashireo glared at him. Monoma. I think it's time to explain things, said Vlad King. That was when they heard someone at the door. That is not Aizawa, said Aiko. Hopefully it's someone from Class 1B. However, it wasn't. It was that same villain who turned into mud before blowing up the door, who as it turned out was Dabi. Stay back, Vlad King. He managed to restrain the villain with his quirk, which allowed him to completely control his blood. I'm sensing a villain rant, said Aiko. I wouldn't listen to him. Everyone's sweat dropped at this. Something I learned as Hibiki's assistant, just tune them out as they talk about these things, said Aiko. Trust me, blah 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 society is to blame, blah blah blah. You had to transcribe too many, said Toru. I had to transcribe too many, sighed Aiko. Plus, I don't think he knows the kidnapping plan failed spectacularly. Aizawa came into the classroom and attacked Dabi until he once again turned into mud. That's enough, said Vlad King. Aizawa grumbled. So, said Aizawa looking at the class. Did Aiko tell you about Bakugo? Asked Ida. She did, said Aizawa. He sighed, messaging a headache. Even if he is going to be okay, he still has a lot to go through, said Toru. Yeah, said Mashireo. Status on the students, said Aizawa. Achiko and Tsuyu are still fighting a villain, and thanks to Bakugo Priestess and another villain retreated, while he took down a third. He's taking a nap right now, explained Aiko. You're serious, said Aizawa. Look, I don't want to go into details once he lost track of the villains, but the point is that after they were gone, he decided to take a nap. He's probably completely out now, back with the large group of students. Okay, so that villain makes people remember their past lives, and she made you 2 and 3 other of your classmates remember your past lives? Asked Awaze. That's right, said Momo, who finished bandaging Ragdoll's wounds, a first aid kit she created. And now she's hit Bakugo, said Awaze. Yeah, said Izuku. Okay. I think Bakugo's completely out, probably a good idea to move, said Aiko. I'll carry him, said Momo. Shoji picked up Ragdoll, while Awaze carried his classmates, who was unconscious thanks to the poisonous gas. Look, Achiko is still fighting a villain, probably a good idea to help her, said Aiko. All right, said Izuku, who then sweat dropped. What's wrong? Asked Momo. We'll see what happens, said Izuku. You still hasn't tested fighting another girl, have you? Asked Momo. No, said Izuku. The group headed to So, where Achiko's fight was going on. Toga had gotten the message about the kidnapping failing. But part of her wanted to see if she could get more blood, especially from Tsuyu. "Hey!" yelled Izuku. She saw that large group of students headed her way. "I guess I should heed that warning," said Toga. However, that was when she saw Izuku and she started to blush. That was when Izuku suddenly shuddered. "Why do I have a really bad feeling?" thought Izuku. "Deku!" called out Achiko. That was when Toga ran away. "Welp, she got away," said Aiko. "Good news is that Bakugo is the reincarnation of Moss Head, so..." "Wait, really?" asked Achiko. "Yeah," said Izuku. That was when Achiko started giggling. "He's blonde in this life," she said. "I know," sighed Izuku. "Oh, you're right. I didn't think about that," laughed Momo. "I'm guessing there's a significance," said Tokoyami. "You don't want to know," said Shoto, who did know that Bakugo had green hair in his past life. "Look, it's probably a good idea to head back to the camp," said Aiko. "Aiko's right," said Momo. "Come on," said Izuku. They all headed back to camp. Meanwhile, with the League of Villains, most of them met up in a meeting spots. Jack Attack was carrying a still unconscious Righteous Fury. "So am I the only one who saved anyone?" he asked. A man full-body black costume with a black head gray mask who was with Dabi. "What do you mean by that?" he said, then said in a different tone of voice, "Of course we saved someone." That was Mr. Compress and Priestess showed up, both looking worse for wear. "I want booze," she yelled. "What?" asked Dabi. That was when Toga showed up. "Oh, do we get to see you get drunk again?" said Toga, showing up. Priestess glared at her. "Did you get any blood?" asked Dabi. "Only from one person," muttered Toga. "Well, at least someone succeeded somewhat," muttered Priestess. "Tonight was mostly a failure, unfortunately," said Kurogiri, appearing. "I have managed to retrieve Magna and Spinner, but I wasn't able to retrieve the other three." "Wait, you mean the Nomu?" asked Dabi, surprised. Kurogiri nodded. "I had gotten word that it was taken down by one of Priestess' past victims." Priestess gritted her teeth. "Me first," muttered Priestess, going through the portal. "I'll put it on your tab," said Kurogiri. They all followed the disgruntled villainess. They all went through the portal to watch Priestess chugs down a lot of booze. "So, that was a terrible plan. How was I supposed to know?" she yelled out. She then chugged another drink. "You're going to destroy your liver if you keep that up," said the villain dressed in black and gray, then chanted in the other voice, "Chug. Chug. Chug." Shigaraki was steaming, due to the fact it was clear that the whole thing, while not a big a failure as the USJ, was still a failure. "You know what I was thinking? You're doing things too small," said Jack Attack. "What do you mean?" asked Shigaraki. "Why attack one school?" asked Jack Attack. "Sure, it's UA, but it's just one school. I mean, there's so many out there." Shigaraki then realized what Jack Attack was getting at. "Interesting. I think I have to bring this up to Master," said Shigaraki. Meanwhile, at Hibiki's apartment, the three had finished it. They had ran some tests and the first morpher of this world was working. "All right. We're done," said Hibiki. "Thanks," said Ruji. "Okay, you're done with science, good," said Aiko, "because, well, you need to change some of your standing orders for me." "What do you mean?" asked Hibiki. "Well, you know I'm not allowed to interrupt you while you science," said Aiko. "Why do you keep putting it that way?" asked Ruji. "It's funny," said Aoi. "Well, you see," said Aiko, something happened at camp, you're going to want pour yourself a drink then sit down. Hibiki paled at Aiko regaled to him what happened at camp. Especially since it was clear that he was going to have a sixth student. And with that camp, nothing would ever be the same, especially with Bakugo, now that he had the memories of Roronoa Zara within him. That will be it for this part. I hope everyone enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and comment if you want part 57. If you want to hear more from me, subscribe. I hope to see you all in the next one.